Morning, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves. Doc?
Hello, everybody. Doc Sheldon here, and Intrinsic Value SEO, Mentors on Tap, Search News Central, and Dante's Inferno.
Terry?
He's got a million of them, folks. Just like some people got jokes, Doc's got companies. I don't have anything now, so Doc makes up for it. He owns a couple for me.
And I'm Bill Slosky, author at SEO by the Sea and director of SEO research at Go Fish Digital. So, if you saw the post I made at Search Engine Journal recently, but it was about author vectors.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea, they're similar in spirit, in mind to authorship markup or agent rank, in that Google is trying to understand who is the authors of content on the web. And they didn't really discuss too much in that patent what they're going to do with that. So they're not saying it's like part of EAT or something like that. But
can I ask you a couple of questions, Bill?
Sure.
Was it trying to identify occupation and what someone was an expert in?
No. The website representation vector patent did that. This one didn't. It didn't try to. It talked more about taking a sequence of words and trying to understand more about the author, their personality, their interests, stuff like that. And it said we collect a lot of this information about a lot of different authors, and we can know who all the authors are.
So that author's link is probably pretty important.
It's possible, but like I said, it didn't give too many hints about what they're going to use it for.
Oh, really?
But then again, Google's sort of like on an information quest, like their recent change with the rel equals sponsored and rel equals the rel changes for the no follow. They wanted more information about how those links were being used.
Sponsored in UGC, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which UGC I think is pretty important too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So getting a better sense of who the people are on the web that they're indexing content from is something maybe they're evolving towards. Get a better sense of that, and they can do better attribution of stuff, and maybe reputation scores will follow. We don't know that for certain because they're not saying.
Rel follow?
What's that?
Okay, I sorry, I missed what you said there.
I said with the author vector scores, they're trying to understand who the authors are of content. And I'm saying for informational purposes, that may lead to other things, like developing reputation scores for pages for authors. I mean, they collect some authorship information. In Google Scholar, they have profiles for authors. They collect information about when those authors are cited elsewhere in other papers.
You know, kind of following that train of thought a little bit, pure conjecture, but if I look at Bill Slosky from that vector standpoint, and I see that you've done articles over here on patents and vectors and all these different technical realms of algorithms and whatnot, whereas Terry has done a couple on vectors, but he's also done some on PPC, and he's done some on marketing techniques and whatnot and social media. Your vectors are going to be more in alignment. Therefore, I could perhaps pull, an author score internally to, a tighter focus on your content than on Terry's content, which could conceivably be used as something like a credibility factor or expertise factor. That's just pulling something out of my ass there, but it would seem to be something they could derive pretty easily from that.
It's not a bad thing it's not bad conjecture. It's not bad guess of what they might do.
Here's something I've looked at a while, like to me, for Google, right?
Yeah.
One of the advantages to WordPress is it's a known framework that they can follow the bio of an author. And then if that author's bio points at the same website for the author, and they see that profile all over the web on a bunch of different sites, right? All pointing to the same website, I think you really can tell quality from that. Mm-hmm. Especially if you look at the link equity that comes into all the different places, right?
Yeah, we've lost the Google Plus profiles, but with Schema, they have people markup, and you can mark up a person as an entity and use same as links to point to things that they've about them, like an about us page, or at one point in time they were doing social profiles, and they removed those as something you don't need to do anymore, because they can figure out if there's a page about you and there are links to your Twitter account, your Google account, and so on. They can associate those with you.
Right.
So they don't need the schema to do that. So they're sort of like collecting that information anyway.
Well, it's easy to form a graph from it, isn't it? It's all part of the link graph.
Yeah.
So we've got a link graph and we've got a social graph.
You could almost make an experts graph if you looked at just the links pointing at an experts page.
Yeah, especially if those people that are linking to it are also high scorers in the vector.
You would also collect authority from the sites that you published on.
It's sort of a Hubson authority approach, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the way you're supposed to build links.
Mm-hmm. Radical concept, eh?
Hey, yeah, it works. The easiest links to get are the ones on your own site. So you rank a few and point them at some that are a little bit weaker but related and pull them up by two.
So rising tide raises all boats approach?
Yeah. Yeah, but also you're spreading the PR or the equity around to pages that are borderline and open to, with your internal linking, push them up in the rankings. They'll get more links, That's what I used to do. I never went off site to get links. I just built new parts of the site. People liked it. They linked to it. It was that easy. That was in the early days when, there was a lot of open territory that you could add to a site.
It definitely does breathe some more emphasis into the whole idea of relevance and internal linking, like you say, Terry, but, relevance of what you're saying and what you're citing, whether you're linking to it or not, even just citations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had not read that.
And when those things are all on the same topic, once you have one ranking, you can go back and link it to a few more pages. Closely related. But often I have already done that because I knew the targets that I wanted when I wrote it.
build resource type pages that you know that some people will link to because they'll find value in them.
Well, generally, I found if you did a blog post and it ranked,
Yeah,
that means that other people had linked to it, or for some reason it had started to rank. So I do a few more links off it, link from some other pages to it, all right on the money, using the keywords where they should have been used appropriately. You know what I mean? If you're blogging enough, that is easy to do.
yeah,
And those are the easiest links to get.
yeah.
If you're like me and you only blog like once every 4 or 5 months, it takes some of the wind out of your sails.
I think now I'm probably start writing a little bit more because, well, I got a lot more to say these days, unfortunately, for all yous out there. Some of the software, I'm going to challenge what they're saying.
So
when you've been staring at misinformation for, ever since the SEO plugin started.
Yeah.
After a while, I'm not hurting myself now if I tell everybody, hey, you realize that, you can, Google looks at a lot more than 65 characters.
Yeah.
And you should, a good SEO already should have figured that out by using the proper syntax and asking Google what size it is.
Yeah, but then you got to do your own thinking.
Oh, yeah, right.
It doesn't hurt to pay attention and observe deeply the way things work.
Especially if you're working with them.
Yeah.
That's how mechanics get good.
And charging people for it,
Yeah. Either way. Christ, when I started, I wasn't getting paid. I did, I got paid most of the time to build a website. The SEO, I just, to me, it doesn't have that value that other people put on it.
I was doing a lot of SEO audits for free in the website hospital, creative site forums. People would come with their website and say, okay, what do I do? And take a look at their site and offer suggestions.
Yeah, that's good. I think pretty well all the SEO forums had that feature. We had that over at the Web Pro News, right, Doc?
Yep. That's where you and I met.
Oh, is it? Okay. What did I give you one of my critiques?
It was that review my site thing.
Yeah.
And I threw a piece of shit I built in Microsoft Publisher.
Oh, yeah. I probably told you what you published it in.
Yeah, that's the day that I met both you and Steve.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we both used to hang around that part of the forum.
Got some good input that day. As soon as I licked my wounds.
Yeah, me and Steve don't exactly beat around the bush.
Was Steve a regular on that forum?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a mod.
Yep.
Was he?
Yeah.
I don't remember him. He didn't have a very pointy white hat.
I think he was using the handle Fadican.
Yeah, that's right.
Fadican or Fadakin, I'm not sure how he pronounced it, but
he was on a few forums back then.
In fact, there's an awful lot of our folks that we see around every day now that were over there. They just had different handles. Some of them were kind of low key. I think that's where I met Michael Martinez too.
Oh, Web Pro News?
I think so.
Hmm.
Either that or Webmaster Forums. Not Webmaster Forum. What the hell is it? Webmaster World? Is that it?
Oh, that one. Yeah, I couldn't get on
I
that.
think it might have been. It was either there or Web Pro News.
I built a program to detect cloaking, and they didn't like it very much.
Webmaster World, really?
Yeah. That was a lot. And then I wrote another article that basically said they were passing purple Kool-Aid around over there.
Well, fortunately, Michael has mellowed a little bit over the years.
Oh, I never thought Michael was like that. There's a bunch of them. I don't think that's where I met Ammon.
Oh, I think I met Ammon over at Kim's place, Creative Space. I didn't saw him. I didn't.
There was him and another guy had a site that was promoting PPC. We got into a bit of a discussion. But we each gained each other's respect. That was that's when I said, okay, this guy, and I think he was equally the same way. And then met again on the creative site. Someone started a thread about something I was doing on SEO Pros. It wasn't too negative.
Well, it's better than the one we did on Sempo then. I remember that one. So we interviewed the first president of Sempo, and she got really evasive when we asked her questions like where it was incorporated. She was demanding that she get paid an equivalent amount to what she would get paid if she was working as a SEO consultant.
Yeah.
Since she was spending her time
considering back then nobody made very much money, it wasn't very much, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty early. I met her at a SCS at the party, a Google party in Toronto for SCS. She gave me a hard time about not wearing a badge, and at the time, that was when SEO Pros. I said, "Really? I'm reviewing SEOs, and not some of them are not getting very good reviews. Do you think I should really be walking around here with a name badge on?"
Maybe put a target on it.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I would have gone with the Webmaster T on the badge.
Yeah. I was probably better known by that than my name, though, back then.
I think
probably
most people were. And if you didn't put a picture of yourself for your avatar, nobody had any idea who you were.
Yep. There's an awful lot of them. If you didn't know them already, you couldn't tell if you were looking at a male or female,
A lot of people. I dropped out for a little while. I was doing PPC.
Yeah.
And just reading once in a while. And I'd go over to, I forget the name of it now. It became Marketing Land. the thing where you vote up and down articles.
Spin?
Yeah, spin. I go over there and raise some shit once in a while, telling people how wrong they were.
It didn't take much to stir the pot over there.
That's how I actually met Dave, because he had a tool called SEO Pros or something like that. I kind of come up and said, did you bother to do a domain search before you named your tool? Because you would have found out that there was already that name taken. And from there, became friends.
So I remember William Rock just asked if we ever talked to Google guy at Webmaster World. There weren't too many spokespeople from Google in the forums at that time.
Nope.
We ended up with two people at CreateSite who ended up working for Google. John and Pierre. Pierre Farr?
Yeah.
Okay. Was he doing webmaster stuff too, or something else?
He was a scientist. He was doing some webmaster stuff, but...
Oh, okay. He had a real... he'd gone to school for it, actually.
Yeah, he was a microbiologist, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember when I first started hanging out in the forums, Pierre, his name came up quite a bit. He used to be a fairly active blogger. I don't know if he was blogging or if he was writing articles on online pubs, but he used to write a lot of stuff.
And for a little while, he was active at like the Google blog, writing stuff there. Like he wrote something about Google changing titles and meta descriptions when they felt right, when they were appropriate.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't even thought of Pierre in a long time, and just yesterday I got an email invite, or not an email, but a Facebook invite to like some group that he started.
Yeah.
And that's been a long time since I've seen him at all.
But no, Matt never visited us at CreateSite. He pretty much stuck to Webmaster World.
Yep. Might as well stay where you can do the most good.
And I remember there was some paranoia about Google representatives showing up at places like Black Hat World. And they were concerned that they were getting found out. But I remember going to an SES conference and a bunch of the SEOs ended up taking Matt Cutts to an Irish pub and trying to get him to drink whiskey. And he drank ginger ale and they drank whiskey. And
good eye old who here, right?
Ended up telling more information to him about what they were doing than he told them about what Google was. So I'm not quite sure that worked well for them.
Good plan, poor execution.
Yeah. When the guy you're going to interrogate about how Google works ends up being the only one who doesn't drink, your plan has backfired. Or maybe needed to be rethought a lot.
That's not good.
I hadn't seen this piece you did on Search Engine Journal. It's interesting.
The author vectors? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll dig into it a little more later, but I mean, just scanning through it, some good stuff.
Yeah. So the patent really doesn't say how Google might use that information in too much depth in terms of things like ranking. It definitely doesn't say we're using this for EAT.
What about as building a graph for an entity? Because an author is an entity.
It doesn't discuss that either. It's more like word
that would-
encoding. It's
But
more
that
like,
would be. Sorry, Bill. Didn't mean to cut you off.
it's okay. It's more like word vectors, like word2vec, where you can take, after doing some studying of some text, you can maybe write out more text and anticipate what the next words might be. They're doing that with content created by a specific author.
Game that works good with. Yeah.
One has to wonder, though, I mean, if they're not saying anything about what they're doing with it, why would they bother to file a patent for it? Or what do they achieve by filing a patent?
Well, they don't have to explain it exactly. They can be as vague as they want until someone challenges it, basically.
Well, yeah, to a degree, and there's
No,
some
not
advantage
to a
that.
degree. It's the way it is.
I understand that's common practice, but I mean, if you're going to be you might as well just say we're going to get an algorithm designed that will do something. We're not going to tell you what or how.
They might do the same thing they've done with some of their other patents, where they refile them after a few years and add more claims and describe in more detail what they're doing with it.
Once they see it in play, they can say, "Oh, we can do this," and then they'll tell you. Like, here's the way I kind of see it. Right when they were talking about, and this is almost strictly thinking of the medic thing, right?
Yeah.
Like professionals, like doctors, etc. You could do word2vec, right?
Yeah.
But then associate that to an entity that doctor has these words associated it from all these biographies, where that we know this is about medicine, right? Or a disease, whatever. You see what I mean, Bill? It's like, and that's kind of how they do things, right? Like big vectors that they can expand them.
So Google came out with a quality score patent that was based on n-grams and looking at all the n-grams on the website and creating statistics about it and creating language model scores based on those statistics involving the n-grams. And
what's an n-gram?
An n-gram is a short phrase. N means any particular number of
characters.
So,
or words, eh? So
2 grams is 2 words long. 3 grams is 3 words long. 4 grams is 4.
Oh, okay, right.
5 grams is 5 words long. So you take a website, you grab all the pieces, and you do statistical models based upon those words, those n-grams.
Right.
And then you do that with sites you think are high quality websites. And then you compare the high quality websites to other websites. And if the other websites do well compared to the high quality websites, they're considered high quality websites too.
Or also using like one of those large directories of doctors where it's out by state and stuff, like for lawyers.
Yeah, when I read that, I said, okay, why wouldn't they do something like that with specific authors? And they could use the book n-gram corpus, which has like 350 million books.
Interesting idea.
Yeah, but their authors, 90% of them haven't written books.
Right, but you can maybe use that information to determine what's high quality in terms of literature, in terms of book writing.
Okay, but for instance, if you were to look at the people who wrote SEO books, right?
Yeah.
Would you classify all of them as experts?
No, I would question
that's just an example, Bill. I see where you're going, but I'd be skeptical.
I've been trying to listen to a number of books, and I've been using Audible. I've been listening to a number of books about artificial intelligence, and one of the last ones I read relied too heavily upon religion. It was talking about artificial intelligence and about what God's plan was and stuff like that. And I stopped reading that after about 10 pages.
Yeah. Did it mention ancient astronaut theorists? You watch that show too, eh? My brother's a crazy for it.
Be a way to merge that in SEO. Ancient astronauts built the website you're reading. Yes.
So just out of curiosity,
yeah,
how bad do you think it is out there for SEOs?
How bad is what out there?
Like businesses.
Because of the pandemic, you mean, Terry?
Yeah.
It depends on the niche the business is in.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be a retailer.
Or restaurant, yeah.
Or travel place.
Or travel, yeah.
But here in Canada, basically everything's shut down. Well, except for construction. Construction in Toronto is an essential service.
If you have a business that's online communications, like video conferencing, something like that.
Zoom, yeah. Look what happened with Zoom.
Right.
It's like all those schools turned to Zoom.
I think there's going to be a revolution in how many people actually go into an office after this.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It was started already. Like when I was working in the office space in that industry, you could see it starting to happen already. Huge companies going to an all open concept and with remote working and the whole 9 yards. And it was even getting to the point where there is one company that basically said to, say, a Fortune 500, all your employees, we have six units in this city. All your employees can just join one of the workspaces there. They can go in there. We'll have a computer for them, everything ready to go. They don't even need a human resources department.
Yeah.
When I was a business consultant, there were a lot of instances, particularly with stuff like IT and even design engineers, product design engineers, where there was a lot of availability of the people they were looking for 1,200 miles away that could have done the job very nicely remote, but there was always a sense of distrust in management. Okay, he's going to bill me for 12 hours a week, but how do I know I'm really getting 12 hours? I think that a lot of that has fallen by the wayside. I think that, especially just a sense of corporate gratitude, if you will. If I've got 100 employees and I send home because of a lockdown, and they manage to keep the business afloat, and in some instances will even be more productive or get some things that have been on the back burner accomplished that can be very valuable. My confidence in my employees is going to grow a lot. And I think that you're right, Terry. I think we're looking at a revolution in the way that we're going to do business. Not across the board, obviously. Factories can't send their assemblers home, but an awful lot of middle management and upper management is going to change their whole viewpoint, I think.
Well, if you're flying to a whole bunch of cities to see each one, say if you had factories in 7 cities and you were flying to each one to have a meeting with the manager of the factory.
And now,
you could do it all virtually, and you could even have all 6 of you there for a discussion about what you're all seeing. You know what I mean?
Save a lot of time, a lot of money.
Really pick up on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of wins in something like that.
The 2016 presidential debates, they were debating a lot about rebuilding infrastructure. And infrastructure back then meant fixing bridges and roads.
Wrong infrastructure.
And it's like infrastructure is communications. It's making sure there's high-speed internet to places and reducing broadband. Increasing broadband, making sure you can get to people's homes.
Well, when they get up to LG5, that'll revolutionize it even more, right?
Yeah.
You know, the Internet Society has had like 3 conferences in the last couple of weeks dealing with the whole topic of, can the internet handle the current traffic on a prolonged basis? Now, apparently there's some folks either experiencing or expecting that things are going to get so bogged down with so much use. Personally, I haven't seen it. Zoom now has a little bit of lag, but when you add a few thousand elementary schools to the mix, without having your servers all dialed up, I can understand that. They've actually, I think, have done a heck of a job considering. But I haven't seen that. But apparently, there's a lot of people that are working on this at a technical level that are concerned that the internet in the U.S. isn't really going to be able to sustain.
Backbone isn't thick enough.
I have a friend who's having issues with Wi-Fi. It's acting really wonky. It's going in and out on her. And I suspect she's not alone.
With cable, I always worry about the number of nodes on the thing.
Oh, for sure.
Here in Toronto, when they had a merger of 2 companies.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, they had splitters in splitters. The box I was on basically looked like an octopus, like stuff shooting up. And every once in a while, I slowed right down, like really slow, when everybody was on at once. Yeah. There wasn't even Netflix and stuff then.
Yeah, you started getting into streaming, you really impacted, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what when they, started doing a lot of streaming, I thought, no way I hope no one in my neighborhood gets that stuff, because you'll really notice it.
Well, the last neighborhood I lived in had telephone poles, and it had cable coming off the telephone poles going through splitters. Mm-hmm. And it's like a hodgepodge of equipment all thrown together.
You see that here too. In fact, I could step out on my balcony. I bet I could spot 3 or 4 where one cable runs off to a house, splits off to another house, which splits off to another house.
That's what really cuts down the signal when they start splitting them. Because I even had the guy on the pole told me, you're not supposed to put a splitter in a splitter. Like, you don't split it that many times.
And then inside our house, is almost any minute of the day, I got my phone online. Now, my desktop is hardwired, but my phone, my daughter's phone, my wife's phone, and my wife's tablet are usually connected at the same time. And it ain't nothing to go down and find my daughter playing 2 different games simultaneously, one on the tablet and one on her phone. Plus a couple of chats in the side,
So 5G is supposed to move us into a time when you have connector on your TV, and you don't need a cable run to your house to connect to that TV.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be
all the cables will pretty well be gone, eh?
Yeah.
Be like huge hotspots then. Instead of cable, it'll just be a hotspot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
there's cables buried under people's yards and so on, and under the streets won't be needed.
One of the smart TVs that I've got as a monitor actually has a splitter integrated into it, so I can plug into the back of it and run another, just like it was a hub, run another computer off of the back of this TV set. Not a display, but another connection entirely, And I kind of wonder what the hell they were thinking to even add a feature like that.
They were being proactive. They were planning for the future.
Well, yeah, but it's basically just a splitter on a device that's already probably on a splitter.
We'll see. I think that is infrastructure in the places we live now. We're less concerned about driving to places and flying to places. More concerned about video conferencing and being able to email is still more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I think the airline business is going to be hard pressed going forward.
How about those cruise ships?
Cruise ships is entertainment. That's a little different. Like, I think because of this, right? The self-isolation and all that, businessmen are thinking, why take a whole day to go across the country for a 1-hour meeting to come home the next day when I can just stay home and do it for 1 hour and do the meeting? And save thousands of dollars. Well, not thousands, but save money in airfare.
And airfare and hotel and meals and
How much sense does it make to fly across the country to go to a conference to give a presentation that lasts 15 minutes?
Yeah. I think people are learning how good the technology is now. It's only going to get better as the internet gets faster. So, they're going to see the advantage to that. And it's not going to be seen as, cheap or whatever. Because I think people are really going to start thinking twice about just picking up and going to some strange country.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of aspects that are getting exposed to more people now.
I don't think this is even the beginning of this stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's going to be a massive shift in the way that we live.
What I can't believe is what just-in-time logistics did to the marketplace. That's why there's no ventilators, because nobody bothered to make them. They made them as they were needed. But when they're really needed, here's the funny part. Now that they're really needed, the price has gone from $22,000 to $50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ford Motor Company is shutting down the lines and building ventilators now. More money in it. More money building ventilators than cars.
If it doesn't,
people are going to car showrooms.
If it doesn't already exist, and it may, I don't know, but there certainly should exist some sort of a law that prohibits that kind of price gouging.
There is in Canada. Those companies could get charged up to $75,000 per offense in Canada for that.
That should be a deterrent.
Here's what also
For
bothers
me, I
me.
know that.
The governments weren't even close to being ready for something like this. Not even close. Like, a couple of weeks into it, and they're out of, they don't have enough mask gowns, the necessities to protect the workers. They don't even have that in place. Again, just in time logistics.
Well,
they should have a storehouse of that stuff.
From a business standpoint, just in time has a lot of benefits to it. When you start playing with your balance sheet, especially if you have high dollar consumables or even componentry, it's very beneficial to minimize. You want to turn your product, and you also want to minimize your inventory.
What I think
there should be some areas that are exempt from that. Like this, anything that could be ever considered an emergency consumable.
Well, the government should look after it. The hospitals can't afford to do it.
In 2019, the CDC shrank, and their pandemic group was mostly gotten rid of.
Yeah, exactly.
It was said, if we need people like that, we can hire people from industry to take their place. So we're not going to prepare.
But here's the thing. There should have been, like, they have a strategic oil supply. And here's the worst part. After SARS, every country knew that it was only a matter of time before this happened. That's what's really maddening. It's people are dying in Italy because the government wasn't prepared. You can't blame anyone but the government. Especially here in Canada, we have the government, that's their thing, medicine. So, if we ever get to where, you have to choose who lives and who dies, that's going to be, that government will never probably get elected here again. I hope they don't.
Well, my fear is that an awful lot of countries are going to end up to where they're triaging in the hallway and deciding who's going to get treatment and who's going to get made. Give them a hefty dose of morphine and let them go in peace.
Yeah, they're not that far in New York, but they're in the hallways in New York. You can bet on it.
Yeah.
Soon they'll be out in the stadiums. They got a stadium, and they were showing them building this whole city of tents.
There was a ice rink, wasn't there?
Yep.
That was being fitted for hospital beds in New York.
Yeah. All kinds of things. Hotels are being closed down and set up to do, to be hospitals, basically, just for these patients, right?
Yeah.
That's a good way to isolate them, too.
So they were fitting some of the conference centers in New York, like Javits Center, with hospital beds. And I think at one point the original plan was to move all the non-COVID-19 people there.
Yeah. Originally, I don't know if they stuck with that or not, but yeah, that was the original statement. To give them credit, I mean, with such a massive situation, New York has done an amazing job of trying to catch up and do what they can.
Yeah. It's like the anesthesiologist equipment can be transferred over to a respirator with one change of one valve.
Yeah.
And doing that. And since they're not doing elective surgery, there's lots of equipment available to make that change.
There was even an instance where some doctor took a ventilator and with some T valves and some additional control valves, he was able to make an octopus that could actually service 8 patients with individual settings.
Really?
Yeah. So you could control.
They were doing 2 here in some places.
Yeah, well, two is just basically, if your two patients are of similar size and condition, then you don't have to have much difference in the settings. But he had actually put valves in each tee off, control valves, so that spent like $1,000 to turn a $20,000 machine into a $250,000 setup. Not bad, but it's geez, it's going to be a lot worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah.
They're talking here in California about having 1,000 masks or a million masks ready, and saying that's not quite enough masks.
No, there's doctors that are using those masks for the third day running, and they should be about an hour and a half, 2 hours usage max.
There are supposedly ways to like clean those and recycle them. And they're working on doing that too.
There's some cleaning that can be done, but then you can change the filter element. But something that I read from one of the factories that is building N95s said
Yeah.
you can actually, their production time is such that they can build 3 in the time that it takes to clean 1. Of course, you're also talking about using more materials and energy and whatnot too. But I mean, just in terms of time of getting them onto the line, they can build them 3 times as fast as they can clean them. One of the things I saw that was kind of encouraging, you've probably seen there's some groups that have started up there showing people how to sew cloth masks that you can put over your N95. Now all you really have to do is change the element, and it's a viable filter, viable.
If you're
mask.
keeping distance, you don't need a mask.
Well,
unless you have it.
You don't know that.
If you're one of the frontline medical people, you're surrounded by people who are sick all the time. You want to have something like that.
Yeah, I didn't wear a mask. It doesn't really help. Only if you have it. If you have it, it's more important that if you have it to wear a mask.
Absolutely.
Because then you can't spread it. But if you don't have it, the only way you can get it is through your mouth or your eyes or a wet spot.
If you're wearing a mask, you're less likely to touch your mouth or touch your face.
Right. But if you wash your hands and don't touch your face, right? And I wore gloves, like that was the one thing. I wore gloves, and then as soon as I put everything away, I washed my hands.
Yeah.
Well, took a shower actually, and threw all the clothes I was wearing in the clothes basket. But all the laundromats are closed. Could you imagine if it lasts 2 months? Gonna be some people wearing some funky clothes.
And or some contaminated clothes that they're having to dig back out of the clothes basket.
Yeah. I'd probably be dead by then. Doesn't last that long on that kind of thing. It's hard plastic and finishes like that it lives a long time on.
They're saying on some things it lasts longer than you expect or anticipate, like cardboard.
Yeah. Well, I forget the name of the vessel, but that cruise ship that got quarantined in Japan.
17 days? Yeah.
17 days. 17 days after the vessel was empty, they went in there and found not live, but active virus. That kind of throws the numbers up in the air, doesn't it? I mean, even if that was on stainless steel, that's still concerning.
On stainless steel in the kitchen by the oven. The breeding ground. No, actually, that'd be the Ben Marie. That's like a bubble. It's like just the water would be at just below boil.
Yeah.
And it keeps your sauces all warm. So when you're
one
run
that's set
out,
up, it's one that's set up for warm foods, and you can do cold foods too.
yeah. Well, you put the sauce in there to keep it warm until you needed it. Or you put it in there to warm it up. But I used to boil it every time first. Kill any bacteria in it when you boil it.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who aren't eating takeout these days.
I'm not.
Well,
We're doing all our own cooking. I'm not even buying like at the meat market.
yeah,
Anything that has probably been handled by somebody recently, like at the store.
yeah.
If it's not something that I can put in the oven or in a frying pan and cook, forget it.
Yeah. All of my meat was, I didn't buy any that would have been hand butchered. You could tell it was mass produced because of the cost of it.
Exactly.
It was the only thing in the store. I have these things that I buy all the time because they're, priced for seniors.
Well, normally
Keeps us out of the cat food aisle.
we'll normally order in like on a weekly basis, at least once a week. Something like it might be burgers, it might be tacos, it might be broiled chicken, it might be pizza, and we haven't now for about a month and a half ordered anything in at all, and I'm not going to.
My grill's getting good workout.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried Chicken's delivering for free. I might get some of that. Get a barrel. I haven't had any Kentucky in a long time.
Neither.
I like their extra crispy normally, yeah.
Yeah, I love Kentucky Fried Chicken.
We've got one right here in town. It's just about a half a mile from the house, but I've tried ordering from them 5-6 years ago, twice in a couple of weeks, and both times the chicken was bleeding when we opened it up.
Ooh.
If you fuckers don't know how to cook, forget it. I mean, literally, the first time it was literally bleeding, Terry.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't give this to your dog. I sure as hell ain't going to give it to my family. Sent it back, and they recooked it and sent it back to us, and it was still pink.
There's no KFCs near me. So.
Well, for a long time, they had Toonie Tuesdays here in Canada. I ate every Tuesday. Get 2 pieces of chicken and fries for $2.
2 pieces for a toonie, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
A lot of places do Taco Tuesdays here.
Oh, yeah. I'm not big on those, so. In fact, I don't think I've ever been in a Taco Bell.
Oh, not Taco Bell.
No, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell is that's a misnomer. They do not
Taco Bell.
Okay.
No, there's that stuff is not tacos.
It's brown stuff in a husk.
Yeah, it's about as close. That's as kind of description as you can give it. I may have consumed my own weight in their what's that super burrito or burrito supreme years and years ago. I love those.
Yeah,
but their food is not what you could even claim to be authentic Mexican food by any stretch of the imagination. It could as easily be called French cuisine.
You get a certain freshness at a real taco place that you don't necessarily get at Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I bet you someone comes in at 5 in the morning and makes up a big kettle full of meat and seasoning. Yeah.
Now down here, of course, if you walk down the sidewalk, you'll find these little carts on the sidewalk where they've got a grill with a propane bottle under it, and if you order 3 tacos, they'll put enough meat for 3 tacos on there, and they'll chop it up and they'll cook it and they'll fry up their tortillas. Sometimes they got an old lady standing off the side, literally patting these tortillas out from a pile of batter, throw them on the grill, and you just try not to think about the health aspects too much. But they're damn tasty, I tell you. They are tasty.
Or what the brown meat might be.
Yeah, you just don't get too detailed in your thinking about this. Just shut up and enjoy.
Not many stray dogs around those carts, I bet.
When I was in the Philippines in the Navy, they had sidewalk vendors down there. They would walk down the sidewalk, and they'd have somebody off on a little stand cooking them, and they'd have some kid walking along holding a dozen of these skewers like a little kebab with just chunks. And what it was supposedly barbecue pork, and it's damn tasty stuff. But a lot of rumors ran around as to what kind of pork that really was. Because you could bet on that particular street, with all these food stands, there was a surprisingly low population of rats. And they finally, one time when I was stationed over there, the provost marshal finally issued an edict that duty sailors were not allowed to buy what they called monkey meat. These redoubtable skewers were not allowed to purchase this stuff because cases had come up where they had been proven to be rat, cat, or monkey.
Whatever they could catch that morning.
Yeah, days like that, top ramen doesn't sound so bad,
Mm-hmm. I think that's our show for today. We're at the top of the hour. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Take care now. Have a good week.
Everybody have a good one. Stay safe, stay healthy.